When you look at the world, it's really built on a couple of big, powerful blueprints for how societies should work. And for centuries, two major and often clashing ideas have shaped pretty much everything: capitalism and socialism. They're two totally different takes on property, money, and what it means to be equal. So, let's jump in and really unpack what makes each of them tick.
All right, first up, capitalism. So what's it all about? Well, it really boils down to a few key things. First, private ownership. This just means that individuals or companies, not the government, own the stuff that makes stuff. The factories, the land, all the tools. Second, the whole point is to make a profit. That's the engine driving everything. And third, all of this happens in a market economy, where the price of things is decided by that classic dance between supply and demand.
But here's the thing, capitalism hasn't always looked the same. It's not some static, unchanging monolith. It has actually changed, a lot, over the centuries, evolving with new technologies and a changing world. To really get it, we need to look at its four major historical phases.
Okay, so it all kicks off with what we call commercial capitalism, way back from the 15th to the 18th century. Picture the age of exploration, ships crossing oceans, new trade routes. This era was all about nations getting rich through global trade and, colonialism. The name of the game was to export more than you import. And then, bam! The Industrial Revolution hits, and it completely flips the script. This ushers in industrial capitalism from the 18th to the 19th century. Suddenly, the focus shifts from just trading things to actually making things on a massive scale in brand new factories, and this created a whole new social structure, with the workers, the proletariat, and the factory owners, the bourgeoisie. Now, all this industrial power needed money, big money, which leads us right into the third phase, financial capitalism. In the 19th and 20th centuries, we see banks and huge industries starting to merge. This mashup of banking and industrial money created these gigantic corporations and monopolies. Power started shifting to the stock market and big financial players. And that brings us right up today, to the world we live in, informational capitalism. Kicked off by the digital revolution, this phase is all about, you guessed it, information and technology. Today, things like data, knowledge, and being connected are the most valuable resources. It's created this super high-tech global economy that pretty much lives online.
So as capitalism was moving through these different stages, a totally different idea was brewing in the background, a powerful alternative that was ready to challenge the whole system, setting the stage for one of history's biggest ideological showdowns.
And that challenger was, of course, socialism. If you think of capitalism as being about private ownership and individual profit, socialism is basically its polar opposite. It says, hey, wait a minute, those factories, that land, those tools, they should be owned by everyone, either as a community or through the state. And the goal here isn't personal wealth, it's social equality, making sure everyone's basic needs are met.
Okay, let's put these two head to head. This table really cuts right to the chase. Look at property. It's private versus collective. Simple as that. Then the objective, is it about individual profit or is it about social equality for the group? When you look at the economy, capitalism runs on the free market, right? But socialism has historically used a planned economy where the government is in the driver's seat. And finally, social classes. Capitalism kind of creates them by design. You've got owners and you've got workers. Socialism's goal is to get rid of that division altogether.
So you might be wondering, what does a planned economy actually look like in the real world? Well, the classic historical example is the former Soviet Union. During the Cold War, the state made pretty much all the economic decisions, from how much steel to produce to how many loaves of bread a bakery should make. It was a top-down effort to steer the entire economy, a stark contrast to the market-driven Western world.
And this is so important to get. This wasn't just some debate between philosophers. No way. This clash between capitalism and socialism basically defined the entire 20th century. It fueled the Cold War, it drew lines on the world map, and it influenced governments and societies absolutely everywhere.
And don't think for a second this is all just ancient history. The tension between these two big ideas is still alive and well. It echoes in all our modern debates about healthcare, taxes, education, and how much the government should be involved in our lives. Truth is, most countries today are actually a mix, a hybrid of both systems. So, the real question I want to leave you with is this. As you go about your day, how do you see the legacies of these two powerful models shaping the world around you?